I'll be here by Zoom. Okay. Yeah.
I will be here because we have session. We have Senate session. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will now convene this hearing of the Government Administration and Elections Committee. We'll be hearing conveyances today. Are there any remarks from my co-chair? Seeing none. Any remarks from our ranking members?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, everyone. I just want to say a quick word. If you look around the room, you'll notice that there's quite a few empty seats. I just want to let folks know that, many of our members will be Zooming in and participating remotely, or they may have other obligations in the building and so forth. I'm going to leave you guys actually relatively shortly into this meeting as well, maybe around 1:20 or so. I've got another obligation with the Senate Republicans at 1:30. I don't want people thinking that we don't care or we're not interested. We certainly are. And I'll be, following along remotely or following up and looking at anything that I missed. But I look forward to a good hearing, and I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Any further remarks? Thank you very much. And I would just reiterate what the good senator said. We take this part of our process very seriously, both because of the nature of the work and also because of the constitutional obligation entailed. So without further ado, we'll move to Roman numeral 1 on our agenda. Bills for review, they are conveyances. And first up, we have on our speaker list, Senator John Kissel, followed by Sophie Gronsky, followed by Alexandra Clement. Senator Kissel.
Good afternoon, Chairman Blumenthal, Chairman Flexer, ranking members Sampson and Master Francesco, and esteemed members of the Government Administration and Elections Commission. I had reached out to the good co-chairs a little bit earlier. I am accompanied on two transfers matters. And for this first one, if you guys could just come up here, I have the town manager, Christopher Bromson from the town of Enfield, largest community in my district in North Central Connecticut. And he is accompanied by Ken Nelson, the mayor of the town of Enfield as well. And it's on Senate Bill 460s, and it's a transfer of land between the Department of Corrections and the town of Enfield, so that the town of Enfield actually gets some good land up on Shaker Road in Enfield for expanding soccer fields for our youth in North Central Connecticut. And this was worked out between the state and the town of Enfield. And David McCluskey, the crack liaison from the department, is here with us as well. And David is in agreement. He's going to be shaking his head that this is all A-OK. And so I'm urging the committee's support for this transfer. And I'd like to just turn it over right now to Chris and Ken to speak about this transfer briefly.
Thank you very much, Senator. And I will note for the record that I did see a head nod from the gallery. And gentlemen, whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you for the invitation, the opportunity to be here this afternoon. I'm going to defer most of my remarks to.
I'm sorry. If you could just turn on your microphone so that it should glow red, and then you can begin your testimony again. I just want to make sure that it's captured.
This happens at our council meetings all the time, so now I'm guilty of the same thing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, thank you for having us here. We're very pleased to be here to ask for this conveyance to be acted upon favorably. I'm with Mayor Ken Nelson. We started this a few years ago. Looking for land because, as you may know, Enfield has a lot of wetlands. We have very robust sports programs in town: soccer, baseball, Little League, you name it. In my written statement that we've submitted, you can see the commitment that Enfield has made on a local level by our municipality in the millions of dollars for upgrading fields adding basketball courts, splash pads, playgrounds, a symphony shell for a concert series. But what we really lack, it's not that we lack the commitment to fund the programs, it's getting the land on which to build them. So this is very fortuitous. I would like to thank Commissioner Karos from DOC who reached out through Dave and also Chris Iwanek that we located this land, which is 14.5 acres, kind of scrubby, a little wet. It's part of over a 200-acre parcel of the state from DOC, but on the other side of the street, we have currently a soccer field complex. It's not enough. We seek to expand it. We'd like to do a crosswalk. We anticipate we'd be able to fit 4 fields with adequate parking there to continue the program. So we would very much like the legislature to look favorably upon it. And
Used up all the time, Chris.
Yeah, if you'd like to briefly summarize the remainder of your testimony, and then your colleague can testify briefly, and we'll see if we have any questions.
All right.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and this shows a good partnership between the state of Connecticut and the town of Enfield with the prisons there. I have some letters from the Enfield Soccer Association, which has approximately 1,100 members, and they're growing. So we know they're not building any more land. And this particular piece of land, as Chris said, is, borderline buildable. So it's a great use for the property. And again, I just want to thank Senator Kissel and Representative Hall for helping get us to this point. And we hope you consider this and we can move forward together and keep the teamwork going between the state and the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for your testimony. Are there questions from the committee? Just make sure. Senator? Representative, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for coming today. Appreciate it. I just had a quick question on the size of the parcel that you are looking for. In the bill, it says that the precise size and location of the parcel be conveyed, and as well as any easement to be reserved in favor of the state shall be determined by the Commissioner of Corrections. What is the exact size that you're looking to have conveyed to you?
14.5 acres, ma'am.
14. And then will there still be an easement reserved on there for the state?
Yes, we had our Director of Public Works talk to Chris Iwanek, and there was a road, we moved the boundary. Actually, there was an access road that goes to the DOC K-9. So we moved further away from it so we wouldn't impact. One request DOC had that we would certainly acquiesce to is they want us to put an 8-foot fence along that border just to delineate the 2 areas, and we will do that.
Okay, thank you. And then did you have any discussion as the size of the easement that's reserved for the state?
I don't. I thought that we had eliminated it, but I'd have to defer. As long as Chris Iwanek and then the commissioner were satisfied, I thought we were in good stead on that. But certainly anything further that they would like us to do, we would certainly add.
Perfect.
But whatever easements are there, we would honor. But I think we're in good shape now that we moved the border away from the access road.
Perfect, thank you. And then as far as a survey done on the property, that hasn't been done.
No, it was a little complicated. We had to go out and get CADIC to do a title search because I guess this land goes back the hundreds of years and it was pretty ambiguous. So we got that. But as far as the actual survey, we didn't do it. But Chris Iwanek was comfortable with the meets and bounds and the way we were able to describe it and its location in our application.
Okay, thank you. And then one more question, will the survey be done? And
If it's required, certainly we would do that.
perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions. Gail kind of covered pretty much what I would have asked. I just wanted to thank you guys for being here, and thank you, Senator Kissel, for bringing them up. This is the right way to do it. In recent years, we've actually been somewhat frustrated as a committee on conveyances that, we'll get a bunch of requests and no one will come even speaking on behalf of them. So to hear from the leadership of the town and, well prepared and certainly making sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed is appreciated. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. Are there further questions from the committee? Seeing none, I will just echo the good senator's remarks. Hopefully word has gotten out that that coming to testify and having all the answers to our questions is helpful to your case for conveyance, and we appreciate you being here today.
Well, I just want to say, when I'm working with these fine gentlemen, it's kind of hard, not to have the answers. And like I said, the opportunity to be here is something that I can't thank you enough for. So thank you
And
again.
I'll just say, we're very serious about it. I'm doing the budget now, which isn't a fun process, but if I can add in a couple of soccer fields and have it done for the next season, we're going to do that. So we're very hopeful, and we thank you for your attention.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Senator.
Thank you. And there's one other transfer yes, 461, and that is for the town of Summers. And I don't know if the first selectman, Tim Keeney, has arrived yet. Oh, is he available right now? I know, but I asked the chairs if they would be amenable, and they are, if he's available. If he's not, then he can go on his own, and I'm here to be supportive. And the chairs are aware of that. All right, so we'll just wait. They've obviously on their own decided they were going to go 15th. So I appreciate your accommodation. I know that Representative Kurt Vale is here as well. He represents Summers also, but I am here in support of that transfer with the Department of Corrections as well. It's amicable. Again, David is here nodding his head, and that is a smaller portion. It's about, I think, 3 acres, and it's for an emergency tower to allow the EMS and ambulance to better respond actually in the town of Summers, which they do to a lot of the senior inmates that are housed in one of the facilities located in the town of Summers. So the state actually is going to benefit through this transfer. Summers
Stay as attendee.
responding to their correctional inmates' needs. And with that, I want to thank everyone, and I don't know, you
Thank-
can certainly forward any further questions on these two conveyances to my office, and I'd be happy to respond.
Thank you very much, Senator. And actually, it looks like we just got Mayor Keeney on the Zoom. So
I'm happy to stay.
yeah.
Welcome. Thank
So if you're ready, sir, if you could just unmute yourself, put yourself on video, and then you can testify about this conveyance.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. This is Tim Keeney, First Selectman of Summers.
Oh, excuse me, First Selectman. If you could just put your video on.
Oh, sorry.
Just a minute.
Don't join as attendee. Fun. Stand by. Okay.
All right, did they let me in?
No.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but now it looks like
Modern art.
you might have shared your screen by mistake. You can just go ahead without video if that's better. Let me just see.
Okay. good.
Sorry you don't have the video because I'm really good looking, so go back.
We're sorry as well.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the two chairmen, Chairman Lesser and Chairman Blumenthal, for giving me the opportunity to speak today. And as Senator Kissel has said, joined by Representative Kurt Vale, and Senate Bill 461 would authorize.
Gotcha now.
Can you see me? Oh, you got me?
You're unmuted.
Yep, we see you and we can hear you.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Senate Bill 461 would authorize the transfer of 3 acres of land from the Department of Corrections to the town of Summers. This property is located within Summers jurisdiction. As you know, Summers is the home of 3 correctional facilities: Northern Correctional Institute, which was closed a few years ago, Osborne Correctional Institute, and the Sobolski Community Rehab Center. The purpose for this is basically to assist not only the town of Summers, but also the Department of Corrections. There is some, ever since the 1990s, middle 90s, Summers has taken over EMS and ambulance responses to the prison system. We get about 20 calls per week. Needless to say, communications is a major part of being able to respond correctly. So what we're asking for, again, is the transfer from 3 acres. It's on the north side of the property, doesn't interfere with anyone. There is a private neighbor who's nearby, but we expect to have public hearings in the future to allow that neighbor to give us their respective position. We suspect it'll support it wholeheartedly. So the key here is that this is for emergency response purposes. It helps both the Department of Corrections and the town of Summers with regards to responding with EMS response to particularly Osborne, which has an older population, as you may know. Having been a former probate judge myself, I've been in there many times, and they indeed have an older population. And as I said, we get about 20 calls per week. This telecommunications tower would allow us to have better communications with the prison and therefore allow us to respond more effectively. This is supported by the Department of Corrections. And I ask and by the way, there'll be no expense whatsoever to the Department of Corrections. We expect the town to do a survey for the 3-acre parcel. It'll be followed by producing a deed. And we ask the committee to and look forward to your support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, First Selectman. Are there questions from the committee? Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for joining us. Is he still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. So just a quick question on you said that the use for the land is for emergency response. Can you tell me how it's utilized right now? Is there anything right now on the land?
Yeah, good, excellent question, madam. The specific parcel is already designated by the prisons as a fire department staging area. That would continue. So there'd be no interference with that whatsoever. And this tower that we put on the parcel would only enhance the value of property to the corrections department.
Thank you. So it's the tower that you're interested in that's
Yes,
going
ma'am.
to help with emergency response. It's not like you're putting a road in there
No,
to
all
for
we're
access
doing,
to the prison.
right. All we're doing is building a tower to enhance the communications. Because of the topography, we don't have the best communications all around town. So this would tremendously assist us in order to improve those communications.
Okay, thank you. So their tower is not on there now.
It is not. It is not.
And the town is going to put the tower in.
We are at our expense. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. Thank you,
for
Mr.
the question.
Thank you, Representative Mastrofrancesco. Are there further questions from the committee? Seeing none, First Selectman, we appreciate you being here today and offering your testimony.
Appreciate your
Thank you,
support.
Senator Kissel.
And Chairman Blumenthal, I'll just add, as well as being very handsome, the first selectman is a former commissioner of Department of Environmental Protection in the White Career Administration and a former Navy SEAL. So he's a good egg all the way around.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All very much.
Thank you very much. Next up is Sophie Gronsky, followed by Alexandra Claremont, followed by Gary Turco.
So share screen. You want to take that off, right?
You all done now?
Yeah.
So I'll close.
I hope it's okay. My friend Phoebe's here to testify along with me.
Yes, that's fine. And whenever you're ready, you can begin and just make sure you state your name for the record, or both of your names for the record.
I am Sophie Gronsky. And my name is Phoebe Griffin. Representative Blumenthal, Senator Sampson, Representative Mastrofrancesco, and members of the JE community, thank you for the opportunity to share my testimony along with Phoebe's. I've been a camper at Camp Woodstock for 10 summers, and I'm providing testimony along with Phoebe in support of House Bill 5522, an act conveying a parcel of state land in the town of Woodstock. I started attending Camp Woodstock from an early age, 6 to be exact, and it has truly changed my life. Camp has provided me with many important skills I use day to day. Last summer, I was an LIT, a leader in training. I stayed at Camp Woodstock for a month, and during this time, I acquired a lifeguard certification, which granted me the ability to get my first ever job at Hale YMCA as a lifeguard and swim instructor, helping to teach the next generation the lifelong skill of being comfortable in water. It also taught me vital skills in communication and leadership. These skills allowed me to take on leadership roles in various honor societies at my high school, the Woodstock Academy, such as Secretary of Italian Honor Society and Vice President of the Science Honor Society. This leadership program also taught me how to deal with adversity and how to problem solve. It gave me the skills I need to succeed in my future plans. By conveying Camp Woodstock this land, they will be able to grant these opportunities to more kids, and that's all I wish. More kids being able to obtain these important life skills that will set them up for success in the future. Camp Woodstock teaches the younger and older generation alike how to face diversity in their day-to-day life. With their core values of caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility, they hold the power of turning a kid's future around and leading them towards a better path.
Camp Woodstock has brought endless light into my life throughout these past 10 years, and without the camp community, I would not have the experiences and opportunities I do today. As a camper, I experienced all the joy Camp Woodstock has to offer and immediately felt the love Camp Woodstock is surrounded by. Whatever was going on in my life, whether I was 8 or 15, Camp Woodstock never discriminated and has been a constant source of joy for me and every other camper at Camp Woodstock. Camp has provided me with endless opportunities such as certifications needed for the job I hold today, leadership experience that has helped me obtain membership to several national honor societies, and problem-solving and communication skills I find myself using on a daily basis. As someone who has witnessed how much camp has grown only over the course of this past couple years, I can't imagine what could be done with even more land to create more lifelong memories for campers to come.
Thank you for allowing us to share our testimony for support of this bill.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there questions from the committee? I did one. Camp Woodstock is a YMCA camp, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Do you know, you may have said in your testimony, if you did, I missed it. How long has it existed?
For over 100 years.
Okay. And do you know what particular purpose the conveyance or the land that would be conveyed to Camp Woodstock would be used for?
I can't really say right now because I don't really have the specifics of it. You'd have to ask other members.
That's that's totally fine. I trust that your testimony indicates your strong confidence that Camp Woodstock will use this land wisely and for a very productive purpose. Is that fair to say? All right. Well, it's very nice to have your testimony here today. We appreciate you being here, both of you, and thanks for making the trip. Hope Camp Woodstock has many more successful years to come.
Thank you.
Next up is Alexandra Claremont, followed by Representative Gary Turco, followed by Terrence Smith.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Senator Sampson, Representative Mastro Francesco, and members of the GAE committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of Bill 5522, the act conveying the parcel of land to the town of Woodstock. My name is Alex Claremont. I'm a resident of Rocky Hill and I teach in Wethersfield. I've been connected to Camp Woodstock for over 20 years. I started as a camper, then was a staff member, and now I'm on the board of advisors. I'd like to speak today to support this bill because I really believe in the stewardship of Camp Woodstock. For over 100 years, to answer your question, it started in 1922. So for over 100 years, Camp Woodstock has been responsibly stewarding the land that it sits on. And because it has these grounds currently, it's been able to provide thousands of kids the opportunity to experience things they would never get to in their own homes, in their own towns. As a teacher today, I can say that most of our kids are spending a great deal of time in front of screens, TVs, phones, gaming systems, computers, you name it, they're in front of it. Unfortunately, this does significantly impact their social skills and their mental health. Kids need an opportunity to unplug and focus on peers, friendships, and thankfully Camp Woodstock is able to offer them a place to do that. Be themselves, make a friend, go for a walk, talk to their peers, and really practice those interpersonal skills. Really, Camp Woodstock is helping them be a better person and more well-rounded. Camp Woodstock's mission, according to their website, is to provide skilled leadership and facilities and equipment that are clean, attractive, and safe, which afford individuals and groups the opportunity to act in situations that are physically wholesome, mentally stimulating, and socially and spiritually sound. I'm absolutely confident that if Camp Woodstock is given this parcel of land, they will remain faithful stewards so that they can continue their mission to give people a space to grow and be healthy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being here today and for your very helpful testimony.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Claremont, if you could return. We do have a question from Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Sure. Thank you. I'm sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question.
Sure.
Do we know, or do you know what they will be using the land for?
Yeah, so they're going to use the land for camp activities. It's really important to Camp Woodstock to remain progressive and up to date as far as meeting the needs of our campers. So they're going to use that land for camp activities, whatever that may look like, you know, in the future years as our camper needs grow and change.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know if there's anybody else here from Camp Woodstock.
There's quite a few.
Oh, but I mean, somebody in administrative or
Yes.
an owner
Yep.
to
who could-
testify, because I have further questions. I don't know if you would be able to answer them, but
Um,
I don't know. There
There are definitely, yes, there are a number of people. There's the executive director and also a few members
Perfect.
of our board who are very closely working on this.
Perfect. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Representative. Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being here today
Thank
for your
you.
testimony. Next up, we have Representative Gary Turco, and I've been informed that Representative Turco will be appearing us remotely, but will be joined in person by Mayor John Trister, Town Engineer Chris Zebedeo, and Father Robert Voice. Thank you. So I guess we'll have Representative Turco, you can kind of introduce the matter, and then we'll hear testimony from the gentlemen who are here with us today.
Thank you, Chairman Blumenthal, and I apologize to the committee that I'm not there in person today. I'm recovering from the flu. You think by April the flu would be gone, but it's still around. So Chairman Blumenthal and Chair Flexer and Vice Chair Slapp and Warren Bello and Ranking Members Sampson and Mastro Francesco, thank you so much for raising House Bill 5519, an act concerning a conveyance of a parcel of state land in the town of Newington. And I have my mayor of Newington, town engineer, and Father Bob Voice, who will also be providing some comments. But let me give you a quick summary of this conveyance we are asking for. So there is a small parcel of land, 0.18 of an acre, that is currently owned by the DOT that we are trying to transfer to the town of Newington. Town of Newington actually has no need for this particular land and would actually want to sell it for just administrative fees to Father Bob Voice. Now, this particular piece of land was acquired by the DOT in the early 1970s. They acquired two homes and they were demolished and used for the realignment of Route 175, which is Cedar Street that goes through Newington. But this parcel of land cannot be built on. It has no other purpose to anyone but the homeowner that's next to it, Father Bob Voice, who is at 14 Holy Street, maintains this property because it often gets neglected by the state, such as mowing the lawn and other services that the property needs. So Father Bob has to, at 91 years old, take care of the land. So we think it would be the right thing to do to, because it has no use to the town or to the state, to convey this land, give it to Father Bob, who is taking care of it already, and not have to go through the stress of having a neglected parcel of land next to his household. And that's my opening. I'll turn it over to the mayor, town engineer, and Father Bob to supply some additional detail. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Go ahead, Father.
My mother's after me. When that land was cut off, when they put the highway in, it was just filled with rubbish and trees and everything. So I had come back. I work in Africa, by the way. So I'm a missionary. And so I started to cut it. My mother says, you shouldn't be doing that. That's, okay. So we started getting involved. Could this property be sold to us or given to us and be part of the town, our own property, 14 Holly Street? Well, it's a long story and we're still here and we haven't gotten it yet. I'm still mowing the lawn and the town has even agreed to do the other side of the property, which is the state property. So everybody's having some sweat, but we'd like to have some official sweat.
Thank you very much. Did you have further comment from the town?
No, I just want to thank you very much for raising this bill. My name is John Trister. I'm the mayor of Newington, and thank you for your consideration. I have I'm joined here with, in addition to Father Bob, I have Chris Avidio, our town engineer, who can answer some questions if you have any specifics on the history of the parcel or anything like that.
Thank you very much. Questions from the committee? Representative Master Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming in. And thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. You're still taking care of that property today,
For
obviously.
40 years. dear.
For 40 years. And it's approximately 0.18.
Yeah. Would you
acres.
like to see a picture?
We technically don't
yeah.
Oh, fine.
allow exhibits or
yeah.
demonstrations, but certainly if you'd like to show it to the representative offline, if she's interested,
Yeah.
that would be
Would-
amenable. So back to the representative.
Thank
The
you, Mr.
mapping
Chairman.
is in the application package.
Okay,
Excellent.
perfect.
Yes.
So it's a small piece of property that you've been maintaining for 40 years. Thank you. Because sometimes the state and the city doesn't really have the time to take care of those little pieces. So certainly we appreciate that, to keeping the property good. As far as this piece of property is to be conveyed to the town of Newington, and then the town of Newington is going to convey it to the owner of the property, or you're going to sell it? We're just going to convey it. Okay.
To Father Bob specifically.
So it'll be at no cost.
It's potential for some administrative fees, but no cost.
No cost for it. Yeah. So there's no fair market value that we're adding on to this to convey it to the town. It's at no cost. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming in, and thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, Father Bob, thanks for being here. Gentlemen, thank you for being here as well and contributing your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Terrence Smith, followed by Keith Denning, followed by Jeff Gordon. Mr. Smith, whenever you are ready, you can begin.
Just gonna find the beginning of my speech. My first grade teacher said this moment would happen, and it's happening. Thank you for having me. Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Senator Sampson, Representative Master Francesco, and members of the GA committee. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity of welcoming me into this space. Today, I'd like to share my remarks in support of Bill HB 522, an act of conveying a parcel of state land in the town of Woodstock. I'm Terrence Smith, and I serve as a summer camp director at Camp Woodstock. And after a decade of spending my summers in the quiet corner, I am proud to call Woodstock Valley my home. I did not always have a home, but 11 years ago, after experiencing a great deal of hardship, I found an opportunity to serve the greater good, children and their families, on the site where Camp Woodstock is housed. And I learned about the need to be in nature, bring only what you have, and being at peace with that. And that's what camp does. Camp provides children with access to natural spaces and places where they can build confidence, develop relationships, and learn about the environment. Where else can you be at peace walking down a trail, learning about how to measure the pH levels in a stream, or hugging trees that are more than 100 years old. That's not common. We've distanced ourselves from nature, and camp is a place where nature just is. The pines welcome everyone who walks through. I've also been able to capture that as I served as the photographer and videographer on site for the last 11 years. And I can't tell you how many worms I've seen dug up and how many times I see kids dancing in the rain. And the trees are always in the background. We have a history of great stewardship. We have a history of responsibility, and it aligns with our values. And I'm sure that if we are conveyed this land, that will continue. Access to land is what we need because the needs of children continue to grow. We would like to be at the place to provide a response and respond to those needs of children. So we're not about building crazy facilities. We are about providing access to the natural environment where people can discover themselves and grow. As we seek to grow and expand our footprint in the Quiet Corner, we will hope to welcome more than 1,000 children every summer to the woods. The woods will have 10 months to recover from 2 months of experimenting. But kids need this space. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there questions from the committee? Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony today. Much appreciated. So this parcel of land is 19.3 acres. And what I've heard from the last person testimony, they were going to use it for recreational camp activities for the children. Is that correct?
This is correct.
Inside here, it says that there's a cost, the fee for it, the 19 acres is cost equal to the administrative cost of making such conveyance. Is there been a survey done on this, and is the camp willing to pay fair market value for that property?
I'm unsure about how to answer this question. I serve as the programming director for the camp, but not the administrative and fiscal responsibility for the camp. I would defer that to our executive director.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, on here it's a summer camp director, so I wasn't
Yes.
sure if you were. Okay, I will reserve my question for them, but I appreciate you coming in today. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And for all you're doing for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate your time and your testimony and your work with children at the camp.
Thank you so much.
Next up is Representative Denning, followed by Senator Gordon, followed by Bishop W. Vance. Cotton Senior.
Thank you. Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Representative Sampson, Representative Mastrofrancesco, and Senator Sampson, and members of the Government Administrations and Elections Committee. Thank you for your time. I am here to support House Bill 5517, an act repealing the prior conveyance of and reconvening a parcel of state land in the town of Bolton. This piece of land was given prior authorization a few years ago. The wording was changed at the last minute and meant that the owner could not take possession of it. But this is a 3.15 parcel of land that belongs to the company. It's owned by the Department of Transportation. It's currently being used and has been for many years by Hoffman Landscaping, who has been a great member of our community, who started 26 years ago with just a few employees and now hires over 250. This piece of land is paramount to his being able to manage his service, grow his company, and continue to be a great steward in the town of Wilton. I would appreciate the support of this conveyance so that he can continue doing that great work and continuing to bring jobs to Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, it looks like this would be a fair market value transaction. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And this is essentially a correction to a previous conveyance that was approved.
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your testimony here today, Representative. Appreciate
Thank you.
seeing you. Next up is Senator Gordon, followed by Bishop W. Vance Cotton Senior, followed by Heather LeBlanc. Senator Gordon, I see you on the Zoom. Whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Senator Sampson, Representative Mastro Francesco, and members of the committee. I'm State Senator Jeff Gordon, proud to represent 13 towns in Northeast Connecticut, which also includes Woodstock, which is my hometown. And I know Camp Woodstock very, very well. Living in town, but also having been a planning and zoning commissioner for 16 years, I know the land and have been out there many, many times and been to the camp a number of times. I strongly support House Bill 5522, an act conveying a parcel of state land in the town of Woodstock. As you've already heard from some testimony today, and I'm sure you'll hear from some others later today, the YMCA Camp Woodstock is over 100 years old. It's seeking a transfer of 19.3 acres of forested land that the state owns. This would better allow the camp to offer expanded range of outdoor learning opportunities for children. Currently, the camp, which is a branch of the YMCA of Metropolitan Hartford, offers wonderful summer programs each year to over 1,300 children of various ages. And these programs include outdoor education and recreation, which helps the kids develop important skills of team building, self-esteem, and self-empowerment. And also what we need very much is interpersonal relationships among the kids, especially as they get older. And during a time when too many kids are indoors, especially on computer screens or on their phones, YMCA Camp Woodstock provides not only the ability to get outside, but also to appreciate nature and to learn and understand everything that's around it. Knowing the lay of the land that Camp Woodstock sits on, it's a beautiful part of Woodstock, and the forested land it's looking to get in a conveyance will add to all that the camp does and really very much expand what the camp does. I will defer to the leaders of the camp any answers to questions about certain specifics they're doing, but knowing them and knowing what the camp has done for many years, in my experience, they are good stewards of the land. They are very good neighbors and good members of the Woodstock community. And not just Woodstock, but overall with many towns, many kids do go to the camp. So it's very much beyond just the borders of Woodstock of what they do. So I ask the committee to support and vote favorably for House Bill 5522. And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for consideration.
Thank you, Senator, for your time and your testimony. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being with us today.
Have a good rest of the day.
You too. Next up is Bishop W. Vance Cotton Sr., followed by Heather LeBlanc, followed by Mike Sherman.
Good afternoon. My name is Bishop W. Vance Cotton Sr. I am the CEO of the Shiloh Baptist Community Development Corporation, and I would like to thank Chairman Blumenthal, the government administration and election committee for the opportunity to come before you today. And I would also like to thank Senator Lesser, Senator Hokda, State Representative Brandon Chafee, and State Representative Kai Belton for leading the support of this bill. I am here before you today to advocate for the reconveyance of a parcel of land located on West Street in the city of Middletown, Connecticut, SB number 457. Our proposed project encompassed a multifaceted approach aimed at addressing pressing needs within our community. The area of focus is supporting our veterans, providing affordable housing options, and fostering the well-being of our youth through recreational initiatives. First, the reconveyance of the land will be instrumental in our efforts to address the pressing issues of affordable housing within our community. Through strategic planning and collaboration, we intend to develop sustainable and inclusive housing solutions that cater to the diverse needs of our community. Second, the reconveyance of the land will pave the way for the establishment of a recreational center dedicated to enriching the lives of our seniors and youth in the city. As we all know, in today's fast-paced world, it is more critical than ever to provide our young generation with constructive outlets for physical activities and social interactions and personal growth. And third, the conveyance of the land will ensure that solar panels also cater to the diverse needs of our seniors and many of those living in our community. And in my conclusion, the reconveyance of the land to our nonprofit organization represents a unique opportunity to catalyze positive change and uplift our community in meaningful ways. I'm asking that you consider our proposal favorably, recognizing the immense potential for collective impact and social progress that lies within our grasp. I truly want to thank you for your attention and your consideration to our request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions from the committee? Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony. I appreciate it. I remember you from, I believe, last year, we had a conveyance before us for the church. What is the difference between the conveyance we're working on, you're requesting today, and the last one that we did?
The last one we did, they was thinking that we wanted to put a school on the land. That was not what we wanted to do, but that's what was brought up, putting a school on the land. I think that's the only difference.
Okay, so last time it was school on the land. This time your goal on the land is to put affordable housing on that. Is that correct?
Right, right.
And this land was conveyed to the church in the past, and I'm assuming what happened is time lapsed and the church never took action to do anything with the land, so it reverted back to the state. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so now do you have a time frame of when you plan on, should this conveyance go through?
Yes.
And that would happen? I see in here it's by June of 2029. If nothing happens, it will revert back to the state.
Yes.
So
that's
good.
The goal is to put something on the land before our time run out.
Gotcha. Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, I remember last time there was a lot of concern from the community on this conveyance. Are you running into that same experience this time?
No, we haven't heard any negative report as of today.
Okay, and then the size of the property being conveyed, do you know this? I don't see it in here unless I missed it. Do you know what the size of the property is?
Yes, it's 10 plus or minus acres.
10 acres. And when, through you, Mr. Chairman, and when this property was conveyed to you the first time, was the fair market value paid for that property?
Our attorney will be speaking on this issue, and so he can tell you more about that.
Okay. I will look forward to his testimony, and I will certainly ask him the question. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, Representative. Are there further questions from the committee? Seeing none, sir, we appreciate you being here today and sharing your testimony on this conveyance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up is Heather LeBlanc, followed by Mike Sherman, followed by Brendan Fox. No.
Excellent. Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Senator Sampson, and Representative Mastrofrancesco, and all of the members of this GAE committee. Thanks for the opportunity to testify in support of the HB 5522, an act conveying a parcel of state land in the town of Woodstock. My name is Heather LeBlanc. I'm the chair of the Camp Woodstock Board of Advisors. I'm a Connecticut native, a UConn graduate, go UConn, and currently live in Willington. The board that we have is made up of camp alumni, parents, and caregivers of camp. From teaching new skills to our counselors, beautifying camp for the season, or thoughtfully planning ways to preserve the camp, for the future. We are a group of volunteers that does not need encouragement to be involved. By far, the most exciting day on camp is check-in day. This is the day where the energy level is unbelievable. The campers are enthusiastically welcomed by our staff, our insanely energetic leaders in training, and our board members. When they step out of their cars, they step into a place where they smell the pine trees and they see the lake, and their stress from the school year just melts away. So during their camp experience, they'll walk in the trails on the way to the dining hall, they'll boat on Black Pond and connect with their peers, all immersed in nature. We pride ourselves on teaching our campers the values of caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. This extends beyond how we treat each other. We respect and care for our 93 acres. We treat our land responsibly, our campers, and for future generations so they can enjoy it. Everyone works together to be good stewards, and that's our little world we step into when we arrive at Camp Woodstock. By the time our camp has prepared for summer and staff is trained, there's only one thing left to do. We unleash our wildly creative counselors and their endless ideas to engage the kids with each other and with nature. Imagine if our kids had more space to explore. I encourage you to pass Bill 5522 to convey the parcel of state land to Camp Woodstock so our staff have more physical space to put their creative ideas to work and our campers have more space to explore. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee?
Thank you.
Seeing none, we appreciate you being here and sharing your time and your testimony. Next up is Mike Sherman, followed by Brennan Fox, followed by Charles Paunessa.
Thank you, and members of the GEA committee. I appreciate the opportunity to be here in support of House Bill 5522, the act of conveying a parcel of land, state land, to the town, in the town of Woodstock. You've heard a lot about Camp Woodstock today, and now you're going to hear a little bit more. My name is Mike Sherman. I was a director of the camp for 24 years before joining the board of directors. Board of Advisors. I am providing testimony in support of HB 52 because I think it is an extremely important parcel of land that we are seeking. Kids are always running at camp. They run because they're anticipating the next activity. It might be learning to swim, learning to sail at the lake. It might be a play field for sports. It might be the barn for arts and crafts, or a host of other places for primary experiences. Unlike inside sedentary experiences of electronic devices, camp offers outside activities where kids actually interact with other kids in a shared communal environment. There are about 300 of them in camp each day, and we need more space. The 19 forested acres adjacent to our property would enhance our ability to provide kids with an active alternative to sedentary recreation, which has been well addressed before my words. Many opportunities await us if we can acquire this land. I personally envision a hiking trail and a campsite with Adirondack shelters where outdoor living skills could be taught through actual primary hands-on activities. Recently, a book entitled The Last Child in the Woods, Saving Children from Nature Deficit Disorder. I'll let that sink in. It was a New York Times bestseller. You can easily grasp from the title, the author is sounding an alarm about something lacking in childhood development. If we acquire these idle 19 forested acres, we will put them to good and important use. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate your testimony here today. And as someone who used to lead trips in the woods, I can certainly speak to you the wisdom of your testimony. Next up is Brendan Fox, followed by Charles Paunessa, followed by Amy Blaymore.
Thank you, Representative Blumenthal, Representative Mastro Francisco, members of the committee. My name is Brendan Fox. I'm from Gaffney Bennett and Associates, and we represent an entity known as Island Brook Joint Venture LLC. Island Brook Joint Venture is the entity which would acquire the property that is contemplated to be conveyed in Senate Bill 459. This is a conveyance that is supported by the city of Bridgeport, as well as the delegation that represents the area in which this parcel of property is located. To provide the committee some background, this is the byproduct. The conveyance is the byproduct of two lease agreements that were entered into between Island Brook and the state of Connecticut back in 2001. Island Brook owns a building located at 110 Colonial Avenue in Bridgeport. On this property is the building in which houses the DMV Bridgeport branch location. Immediately contiguous to that property is a parcel of property, the parcel that is the subject of 459, that is vacant, that serves as parking for the building at 110 Colonial Avenue. The lease agreement that covers the ground lease for that parking lot contains provisions for the sale and acquisition of that parcel of property from the state to Island Brook joint venture. That conveyance should have occurred back probably about 2012 for a variety of reasons. It did not happen. In communications, conversations with the DAS and OPM, we have agreed to pursue this path here to seek the approval of 459, the approval of the committee, ultimately the General Assembly, and hopefully the governor. The purchase price has been paid over the course of the term since 2001. Island Brook has compensated the state the purchase price. And finally, DMV continues to occupy the parcel of property. The vacant parcel continues to serve as parking resources, and we are in the midst of renegotiating a renewal of that lease. And it's our intention to have DMV be an occupant of that property for quite a long period of time. That's our hope, at least. The two final comments. One is I mentioned that the city of Bridgeport favors this conveyance. That will be evidenced by a letter that is in process that we will file with the committee once in receipt. And then finally, OPM filed testimony this morning expressing concerns with the language of the bill. And they've suggested in their testimony that certain changes occur. We have no objection to those changes. In fact, those changes correspond with the discussions that we've had with both DIS and OPM. Again, I appreciate the attention of the committee. I ask for its support in the passage of 459, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, sir. Questions from the committee? Representative Mastro Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony. I appreciate all the information that you were sharing with us. This is probably one of the easier ones. You mentioned that OPM requested language change. Do you know exactly what they were requesting?
Representative, that's in there. Yeah, yes. But the specifics are in their testimony. But generally speaking, the changes, one of the significant changes is that the conveyance would be conditioned upon the negotiation of a lease for the building as well as the parking lot, and that lease would be approved by SPRB and by other state agencies. That is the primary, most material change to the bill. And again, we have no objection to that.
Perfect. Thank you. And then right now the building and the lot are shared?
They're two separate pieces of property, but contiguous. But yes, the building, the lot complements the use of the building that again houses the DMV branch office.
Okay, and I guess in the lease agreement right now, that the current lease agreement, there is a, provision in there to have the property conveyed over, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. And that you said was supposed to be done in 2011, did you say that?
Well,
correctly?
it's, first, the answer to your first question is correct. The lease is dated 2001. And what is contemplated in that lease is that at the expiration of the initial 10-year term, the conveyance would occur. At the end of that 10-year term, there were communications between DAS and Island Brook. For a variety of reasons, the conveyance didn't happen. So here we are.
Okay, and then just to clarify, there were an agreement, it says here, the cost equal to 150,000.
That was the appraised value, and that's been paid, and actually more has been paid. Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for the clarification and for coming in. I appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions from the committee? I found the OPM testimony, so I just wanted to review those provisions briefly and see if you had any objection or comment on them. It says in line 5, I guess it would replace $155,000 with, quote, the funds previously paid by the buyer to the state since 2001.
No objection.
Presumably no objection. In line 24, it says that it wants to insert language that would make the approval, make the conveyance subject to the approval of the State Properties Review Board. All state approvals of a new lease agreement mutually acceptable to the state and the buyer for the subject property for adequate motor vehicle parking, improved property owned by the buyer and located adjacent, et cetera, et cetera. I'm guessing you have no objection to that?
No objection.
And then it says that the SPRB would just review it within 30 days.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank
for being
you.
here with us today. Next up is Charles Paunessa. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. If not, please correct me. Followed by Amy Blaymore, followed by Sam Carabetta.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to introduce my deputy mayor from Berlin. He's here to speak today on behalf of HB 5520. Mr. Paunessa.
Chairman Flexer and Blumenthal, Vice Chair Slapthorn Bello, and Ranking Members Sampson, Francesco, I'm sorry, and distinguished members of the Government Administration and Elections Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about Bill 5520. It's an act concerning a parcel of state land in the town of Berlin to an individual entity. I want to vigorously object to this. Rewarding someone for encroaching on state parkland by selling the land to them for reduced value is absurd. This is open space land. The town of Berlin has a long history of obtaining and maintaining open spaces and maintaining trails. And this would reduce that area. Deeding this land to an individual would block an access from this Route 5 to State Highway for the public to use the property. To me, it's just absurd that anyone would build buildings on state land without owning it first, but this is what happened. This transfer of ownership will reduce the availability and possible use by the public. It'll close the main access way for the rest of the state land in the area. At the very least, the town of Berlin, the Berlin Land Trust, and the people of Berlin should have time to address this transaction. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have for me.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Are there questions from the committee? Representative Master Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate your testimony. I see that you have concerns with this conveyance, and I wanted to just kind of get a little bit more information, if I may, on your concerns. So they are looking to, the area is approximately 2.7 acres.
Correct.
And if I'm understanding this correctly, some of it falls in your town and some of it falls in Meriden. Is
I
that
believe
correct?
all the property falls in Berlin. It's on the town line.
Okay, so all of the 2.7 acres that they are requesting is a property of Berlin.
Yes.
Okay, all of it, okay. And all of it, amazing. I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a parcel of it, so. Is there anything on that property right now? Do you know?
Yes, someone has built, it's exactly on the town line. Someone's built a home partially on the land that's owned by the state, and also several sheds and a basketball court. It's basically been turned into a private estate, that area. And it was done without any ownership of the property, and now they just want to annex it to the rest of the estate.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, so who maintains the property currently right now? Does it the state go in and maintain the property, or is it your town?
I don't know who maintains the trail going in. I imagine that the homeowner maintains the lawn around the house.
And as far as you mentioned something about an entranceway into there.
Yes.
Is
there's-
that entranceway right on within the 2.7 acres that
Yeah.
they are looking to have conveyed?
Yes, and if a private entity gains ownership of that, they could gate that entryway and block public access to the open space.
Is there other ways of accessing that?
Not that I
open
know of.
land
It's
space?
a very heavily wooded cliff area off the Berlin Turnpike. I believe this is the only way into the 50 acres.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, just if we could make sure we let people finish their questions and their answers so we get everything for the transcript. Thank you very much, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just lost my train of thought. So, and through you, Mr. Chairman, so there is not another entranceway into that property for
Best of
open
my
space?
knowledge, there is not.
There is not. And through you, Mr. Chairman, when people, the public actually access that property, because I can't visualize it, I don't want to know what it is. Is it just a wooded area? Is there a trail in there? Do you know what they use it for? Is it more of like just hunting, we'll say? What do they use it for? Do you know?
I don't know if hunting's allowed. It's belongs to DEP at the present time. But it is accessible for hiking and, just outdoor open activities.
Okay, and then was your town notified at all of this conveyance?
No.
So the town had no idea that
No,
this conveyance
this
was
is
going through?
Brought to my attention the last several days by our representative.
Right. And of course, obviously, it's state property, and the state can obviously certainly do what they want with their property. And you did say that there was structures or something already built on the property that you know of?
Yes, as part of the application, I reviewed the sketch submitted. There was a survey done, I believe, by the state. And it shows several sheds and a basketball court and a driveway. And part of the home is actually on the state land.
Gotcha, okay. I don't have any further questions, but thank you for your testimony and for coming in and for clarification. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being here and your testimony. Next up is Amy Blaymore Patterson, followed by Sam Carabetta, followed by Andrew Bicking.
Thank you very much. Can you see me?
Yes, and we can hear you.
Okay, terrific. And you
Ready
can hear me.
begin.
Terrific. Thank you very, very much. Co-Chair Blumenthal, Ranking Member Sampson and Metro Francesco, and distinguished members of the GAE Committee. For the record, I'm Amy Blaymore Patterson, the Executive Director of the Connecticut Land Conservation Council. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. I'm really sorry I can't be in the building today. And I also want to thank you for posting the conveyance information in advance of the public hearing, as you did in such a timely way, as with last year as well. It's essential for our public input, and for CLCC, it allows us to narrowly tailor our testimony to the issues most relevant to our mission of elevating and strengthening land conservation in Connecticut. Through that lens, I submitted written comments related to 3 bills, HB 5520 in Berlin, 5522 in Woodstock, and 460 in Enfield. With respect to Berlin, our greatest concern is the precedent-setting nature of using the conveyance bill process to resolve an encroachment on deep property, and the message that sends to the public, as well as other landowners with property abutting land held in trust by the state for the benefit of the public. With respect to Woodstock and Enfield, our greatest concern is the impact of potential development activity on the property's natural resources and surrounding environment. In Woodstock, the property is an important part of the state forest system, and yet there is insufficient specificity as to the intended use of the property and the impacts that it would have on the site and the surrounding environment. I have been listening to the testimony today. I really appreciate your questions, and I also appreciate the value of the camp, as well as the assurances that the land will be stewarded properly. However, without knowing the specific end use beyond generally camp-related activities, it really does little to ensure that the land will be used in a way that is consistent with its current use as state forest land. This lack of specificity also calls into question the efficacy of the right of the reversion, which we were very pleased to see in most of the transactions. In Enfield, the proposal of soccer fields and extensive parking is specific, and they raise major concerns about the suitability of such active development in environmentally sensitive areas such as that one. And one final comment, which is not in my testimony, but I've been thinking about it as I've been listening today. The state has a goal of conserving 21% of its land area by 2023, with the state responsible for conserving 10% of that goal. We have yet to meet that goal, and according to CEQ, it'll take decades to get there at the rate of acquisition, at the current rate of acquisition. So we can ill afford to go in the opposite direction by conveying state land of high conservation value with the myriad benefits it provides to the public and the environment. I appreciate your consideration of the broader implications of these conveyances and the importance of upholding the public trust in our precious public lands. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and your testimony today. Are there questions or comments from members of the committee? Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you're testifying, you have your concerns on 5520, 5522 and 460. Let me just begin with 5520. Can you explain to me what your concerns are about that particular conveyance?
Yes, and that is really goes to the precedent-setting nature of it. You know, putting aside the size of the parcel, which is 2 acres or so, and the nature of the facts surrounding the encroachment, which really we don't know about. I learned more just now, of course, from listening to the testimony of the mayor than from the paperwork, although the paperwork did show us on the map that there's an encroachment. Our big concern with the Berlin property is that by allowing the conveyance process to be used as a mechanism to resolve a encroachment sets a very dangerous precedent for any future encroachments going forward. You know, sending a message to abutting landowners, sending a message to the public that really all one needs to do in order to resolve an encroachment, which is a trespass on our public lands, is to be able to pay the administrative costs and the fair market value of that property. So that is the major concern with the Berlin property, is just, again, the precedent-setting nature of using the conveyance process to resolve an encroachment dispute.
Thank you. And those are the only 3 that you have concerns on today, and I think we have maybe 11 on here today. So those are the 3. Does the Connecticut Land Conservation Council, do they actually go out and view these properties that are on the that are potentially could be conveyed?
I have not gone out to view those properties on behalf of the organization. I've gone by the information, extensive information on record now that you've posted on the GAE website.
Okay, thank you. And as far as the 5522, that was the conveyance in Woodstock. Can you reiterate what your concerns are again on that?
Yes, and thank you for these questions. I appreciate it because we have to talk so quickly. So in that case, the concern that I have on behalf of the organization goes to the proposed end use of the property. There's very little specificity as to what that end use will entail. It's described as seasonal recreation and camp-related activities. And really, you know, while I certainly appreciate and I believe in the sincerity of those that have testified and assurances that the property will be used in a way that properly stewards that land or continues to properly steward that land, that is not an assurance that is going to remain in perpetuity. And right now, this is state forest land. It is part of a state forest land system. It is part of an ecosystem. And so there needs to be more specificity if we want to even believe that there's any teeth in our right of reversion process, which would be triggered by activities that are contrary to the intended use. So when the intended use is described so broadly and so vaguely that you really don't know what it is, I question how effective a right of reversion would be in the event of some sort of violation of the terms of this transfer.
Thank you for that explanation. And now on 460, that was to be used to expand a soccer field. And what were your concerns again on that one? If you wouldn't mind expanding on that for me, I'd
No,
appreciate it.
not at all. And again, thank you. Just again, this is going by the information that has been provided on record. And that is a very environmentally sensitive area. Looking at my written testimony here, which again, I took that information from the application and the questionnaire. The property is described as mostly wetlands. It's within the freshwater brook watershed. It contains grasslands. And probably most significantly, the entire parcel is identified by the natural diversity database, which is that state database system that identifies areas that may contain endangered, threatened, special concern species and significant natural communities. And so, you know, of all organizations to be in favor of open space, it's ours. And so if this property was intended to be used for passive recreation and open space, we would be very supportive of that. What raises our concerns is that its potential use as soccer fields with extensive parking, which is shown on that map, is an active recreational use. But that's a development, and that's extensive development. And it's being proposed in an area that is shown through the information provided by the applicant as being very environmentally sensitive.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, just one more question. Did I hear you say that that property on Senate Bill 460 was wetlands?
It's described as mostly wetlands in the application.
It is. Okay. Thank you for your coming in, for answering my questions. I appreciate your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Are there further questions from the committee? Seeing none, Ms. Blaymore Pearson, we appreciate you being here and sharing your testimony today. Next up, we have Sam Carabetta, followed by Andrew Bicking, followed by Anthony Gronsky. Sam Carabetta, I see you on the Zoom. You could turn on your video and unmute yourself. You can begin your testimony whenever you're ready. Okay. Sam, we cannot see or hear you currently, but I see you there on the Zoom. We appear to be having some form of technical difficulties. If we get those resolved, we'll return to Sam Carabetta. Is Andrew Bicking here on the Zoom? Thank you, Mr. Bicking. And then following you will be Anthony Gronsky, following that, Carrie Green, unless we get Sam Carabetta fixed. All right. Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
On various state park, trail recreation, sustainable forestry, climate change, and land conservation issues. I want to thank you for having an open and transparent process for these conveyance bills and making sure that your actions are consistent with that which is required in the state constitution. It's really a remarkable achievement for Connecticut to move this direction in its policy development. Thank you. In review of the conveyance bills, I want to ask that you please consider 7 points which CFPA has historically brought up in proceedings like these. Is there a significant public benefit? Did the entity proposing the conveyance meet with the state agency and receive affirmative support? Will the state be made financially whole if the conveyance is approved? Is the future use of the property clearly stated? Will the property revert to the state if the future use of the property is not followed? Is the State Property Review Board involved as a final step? And finally, will there be no risk of negative impact on contiguous forests, state parks, trails, water bodies, or open space? Today, I will focus my testimony on 3 conveyance bills, HB 5520, HB 5522, and SB 460. I'd like to begin with HB 5522, an act conveying a parcel of state land in the town of Woodstock. This proposal would convey 19.3 acres of state forest from deep to YMCA for, quote, seasonal recreational and camp-related activities. 95% of this parcel is forested. The remaining 5% is water in its natural state. This transaction would take place with no revenue generated for the state other than administrative fees. I have no question about the integrity of YMCA's mission. I benefited from Y programs. My children benefited from Y programs. But a character reference is not the same as the assurance or protection provided by the law. And at issue here is what the public might lose if forest land is converted. The proposed uses of the property in the application are vague. Seasonal recreation and camp-related activities could include any number of activities, including permanent conversion of state forest land to other uses that would forever damage the natural habitat and aesthetic value of the site. The language used in the proposal does not even require that the land in its entirety be used for recreational purposes. Imagine a scenario where activities at the camp extend. That's a wonderful achievement, but that comes with a cost. How are we going to treat the wastewater? Where are those facilities going to be sited?
Excuse me, Mr. Bicking, I'm sorry to interrupt, but your time has elapsed. If you could just summarize the remainder of your testimony, and then we'll see if there are any questions.
Thank you very much. And I'll just conclude by echoing the comment of my colleague, Amy Blaymore, with CLCC regarding concerns over the proposal for Berlin and also for infield. And we'll note in infield, the proposal calls for the development of nearly 341 parking spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony. Appreciate you coming in today. And we heard from CLCC, and she actually testified on the same bills. Is there anything different in your testimony that you want to add on? It's different from hers. I know you didn't get a chance to talk about 5520.
I have not read Ms. Blaymore's testimony myself. But, we'll note that with respect to 5520, which is the proposal in Berlin, that the primary concern that we have is that this would also set a precedent. I think we heard a great testimony from the deputy mayor, and we share similar concerns.
Same thing. And I would assume the same concerns with 460.
Yes.
Is there anything else you need to add on any of those at all?
No, but thank you for asking.
Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony today. Looks like Sam Carabetta is ready to go. So we'll have them go first, and then next after that will be Anthony Gronsky, followed by Kerry Green.
Hi, good afternoon. Sorry about that. Had a little difficulty. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear and see you clearly.
Okay, good. Thank you. Chairperson Blumenthal and Flexer, ranking members Sampson and Mastrofrancesco, and members of the government, administration, and election committee. My name is Sam Carabetta, and I'm here to testify in strong support of HB 5520, an act concerning the conveyance of a parcel of state land in the town of Berlin. I'm a lifelong resident and business owner in the town of Meriden. My family and I have lived and worked in the town for generations. We have a deep love and affection for Meriden and want to continue to see it grow. My family homestead is located at 2209 North Broad Street. That's right off the Berlin, that is the Berlin Turnpike, on the Meriden-Berlin town line. This property has been in our family for several decades. The property adjoins a second parcel in Meriden that was added to the original homestead and is connected to the original property. Our property abuts state land on the Berlin side of the town line, and we have the benefit of a 90-foot wide easement that crosses the southwest corner of the state land and provides access from the Berlin Turnpike to our land in Meriden. The proposed conveyance is approximately 2.7 acres of non-buildable property that includes the area of the existing easement and a triangular shaped area between the easement and the boundary of our homestead. If passed, this bill will resolve issues with the homestead property line and the possible encroachments from the homestead onto the state land. Through the years of owning the property, we've invested in maintaining and improving the road over the easement on the state land. However, we have also experienced issues with people dumping trash on both the state and our homestead. While I've been dealing with this issue for many years, we're seeking a more permanent solution to this environmental issue, as well as the property line uses, which this conveyance would address. Further, I want to recognize and thank DEP for working with my family to resolve this issue in a manner that addresses my concerns, as well as benefits the state and its residents. Attached to my testimony is a map that will help explain the conveyance. I'll be happy to address any questions you may have and strongly urge support of HB 5520. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions from the committee? Representative Master Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Carabetta, for coming in. And I appreciate your testimony. I did have a few questions just for clarification. As you've seen, we've heard testimony today from other people that are here. And I guess the concern was, well, one, they talked about encroachment on state property. I guess my question to you is, what exactly is on state property right now that's you're utilizing?
There's a paved driveway, a basketball court, and some sheds, storage sheds.
So currently right now on state property is a basketball court and there's some sheds on there. I'm just curious, how did that, let me just go back. When was that built? The basketball court and the sheds?
At least 25 plus years ago.
Okay, so they've been there for a long time. And at the time that they were built, obviously that was state property. When they were built, did they know that it was on state property?
I don't think so.
Okay, so, but you had mentioned through you, Mr. Chairman, that the property has been in your family for decades. So I'm assuming that, I don't know if the family owned it back then when they was put in, or was this basketball court and shed put in prior to the family owning it?
No, it would have been after they owned it.
It would have been after. Okay, so it was put on state property. And also, so now they are looking to take over that. But how much on where the basketball court is and the shed?
Yes.
How much of that is out of the 2.7 acres that you're looking for? That area right now that's covering the basketball court and the sheds, do you know what the size of that area is?
I wouldn't want to guess, but it's a small percentage.
Okay, and then so if it's a small percentage, so it seems to me that the basketball court and the sheds were put up there on state property already. I'm just curious, you're not just looking to just take over that area where the basketball court and the sheds are, you're looking for the entire 2.7 acres. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And also in here, it says, the Commission of Environmental and Energy Protection is going to convey to the LLC Meriden Homestead a parcel of land and any improvements on said parcel. Can you explain to me what that means?
Well, I guess that would be the sheds.
And the basketball court?
Yeah. Correct.
So let me just understand this correctly. So the basketball court and the shed were put up on state property. We want to convey the state property over to you, and now we want the state to pay for the basketball court and the sheds that were put up illegally?
I don't think there's a request for the state to pay for anything.
I'm just looking in the bill, through you, Mr. Chairman. It just says, "And any improvements on said parcel." And I asked you what that meant, and you said that was to pay for the shed. So I guess I'm looking for clarification.
Maybe I misunderstood your question. Sorry. No,
That's okay. So
Right.
what does, in the provisions of this bill, it says, "And any improvements on said parcel." I guess I'm trying to just figure out what that means, the state to pay for.
I'm not sure. I'm a little confused. We're not,
Me too.
we're not looking for the state to pay for anything. We're actually, prepared to pay pay something. I don't know what that is yet, but
Okay. And I'm assuming that you're willing to pay the cost of the fair market value of the property?
sure,
And did you have an appraisal done on that property?
I did.
And can you tell me what do you know what that appraisal was?
Yeah, he had a very hard time because it's not a buildable piece of land, so trying to get comps. But he came up with like 35,000.
For the 2.5 acres. And then again, we go back to, and I'm just trying to figure it out because I'm just reading the bill before me. It says, "And any improvements on said parcel." Did you have any negotiations or any conversation with anybody on that piece of the bill?
I didn't personally, but I have a lawyer and a lobbyist.
Okay,
That's-
so you're, okay,
That's
thank
how
you.
it's out this.
Thank you. So you're okay with having two independent appraisers go out and appraise that property?
Sure.
Yeah, because I noticed in the paperwork that you sent in, you put the appraisal value at $35,000. And
Correct.
that's based on what your testimony is. You're saying that's an estimate. Was it an official appraisal or from an appraising for somebody that's an appraiser, or was just an estimate?
No, he's an appraiser. I forgot his certification, but he's an appraiser.
He's an appraiser. Okay, good. Thank you. I don't think I have any other questions right now. I just do have concerns on the improvements. And you're telling me now that there's a basketball court and a shed already on that property. That's already state property. So I did have some concerns about that as well. I don't have any further questions, but I appreciate your testimony today and clarifying those questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you.
Next up is Anthony Gronsky, followed by Carrie Green, followed by Andy Bauer.
Thank you, Chairperson Flexer, or Chairman Blumenthal, Representative Mastro Francisco, members of the committee, for this opportunity to testify on behalf of Camp Woodstock. My name is Anthony Gronsky. I am the Executive Director of Camp Woodstock, located in Woodstock Valley, Connecticut. I'm an Army veteran. I just wanted to say, because the mayor of Summer said he was a Navy guy, so I just want to get out the Army side there as an Army veteran. Unlike most land conveyance proposals, Camp Woodstock proposal is all about kids. We have been serving the youth and family of Connecticut for over 100 years. Kids come from us from all over the state of Connecticut, urban as well as suburban. We are a unique service and use our skill sets to help develop school-age children socially and emotionally. But additionally, Camp Woodstock employs over 140 young adults, developing them for future leadership roles in business, education, and government service. Camp Woodstock is owned and operated by the Greater Hartford YMCA, which is a nonprofit association, open to all and committed to helping people develop their fullest potential in spirit, mind, and body. Camp Woodstock is located on unspoiled shores of Black Pond. Camp Woodstock owns 80% of that shoreline for over 100 years. By many measures, our current property footprint is far below the camping standards and is encumbered by wetlands and narrow parcels which limit programming opportunities. The American Camping Association recommends 1 acre per camper. We have 93 acres and we have over 300 campers a week. The property we wish to have conveyed is immediately adjacent to our main program area and offers immeasurable opportunities to sustain and grow kids for many years to come. For the past 80 years, we have been neighbors with the state. This parcel has seen virtually zero activity. We believe this forested land is conveyed to Camp Woodstock in House Bill 5522. Its value to kids of Connecticut would be greatly enhanced by the stewardship of the YMCA. We'll use the land to expand our camp-related programming, such as passive recreation, hiking, outdoor education, showing kids how to build fires, cook over an open fire, giving them their first experience in nature. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you today, along with all the kids that come to camp each summer and the thousands of camp kids that have come over our 100 years. I thank you for this opportunity and I welcome questions at this time.
Thank you, sir. Representative Master Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony and for coming in. I think you're the person that's hopefully going to answer my questions. You are the executive director, correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
perfect. Great. I guess the question is, we always feel on this committee when it comes to conveyance that they're paying fair market value for property. Is the camp willing to pay a fair market value for that? It's 19 acres.
We haven't discussed that. I report to board and that board reports. We're a board of advisors and there's a board of directors that would have to be involved. That discussion has not happened yet.
Okay. So your intent coming in here today was to just have the state convey that property over to you at no charge, or just paying obviously the administrative costs and to making the conveyance.
Yeah.
And the camp is not willing right now to commit to paying a fair market value.
Right. I can't make that decision. That would have to be, board of directors decision at the, and that discussion has not happened.
Okay. But the intent as of today is to have that land just sent over to you guys.
Yes.
Without any fair
willing to
market
pay
value.
administration costs right now. Yes.
Right. And has there been a survey done on that? Did you have a survey
There
done?
hasn't been a survey, but we've had a broker open a value by Gorman and York. Yep. And it's in the application, but it came to $277,000.
Okay, hold on. So there was no survey, but there was, say that again, there was a
broker opinion of value.
Broker
Yeah,
value.
by Gorman and York.
Oh, okay, a realtor value.
Yes.
And how much was that amount?
277,000.
And again, the camp has no, they did not discuss that value of 277,000 at all.
No. No.
Okay. I think that really was my biggest question. And I assume from the testimony we heard previously that they would be doing activities, using it for camp activities.
That's correct. So, just to, we don't have any motorized, so the kids, they paddle the canoe, they sail, they swim, we mountain bike. And currently, we have to bike off of property, which is not safe. We're biking on, routes that are busy and kids don't have biking skills like they used to. So an opportunity to have some passive activities in that area would, make our programs even safer and, limit our exposure off of camp property.
And just one final question.
Yep.
And I don't know the area, so I can't visualize it unfortunately. So I'm just trying to, so I'm assuming it's open, is it open space, a lot of trees on the property? Is it like more of a wooded area?
The state property?
Yes, that you're
Yeah,
looking to
it's
have.
all wooded. And Camp Road is a dirt road. So, and I've been living there for, 20 years. You're not allowed to park on Camp Road. It's, one lane dirt road.
Okay.
So, it's just all woods. You're right.
Okay, it's all woods. And is it the goal, should this land be conveyed to the camp, for them to knock down some trees, maybe put some trails in there, making it more open?
Yes, it's
that-
going to be used for passive recreation, such as hiking, mountain biking, kids just getting outside, but they want to walk on some trails to at least feel safe until they build that comfort zone. Having kids be outside in a safe area where, we know intruders aren't going to come in and things like that, is just very important to us and vital to the kids.
Perfect. Thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Let me just see, is there anyone else? Zoom, are there further questions? I had a couple brief questions and
Yes, sir.
I'm not the right person to, or you're not the right person to answer them, please just let me know. So I'm assuming you heard earlier the testimony from the Land Conservation Council and others about the specificity of the reverter clause.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you and the camp be prepared to agree to a more specific reverter clause that, specified the uses, the permissible uses of the land?
So right now, we could do that, but once again, we don't know what the future holds. Who would have guessed we would have gone through a pandemic? I would have never guessed we would have been doing childcare in schools, which we did during the pandemic. So right now, I could tell you what, like I said, for passive activities, recreational activities right now, but I can't say what the future holds and limit, what the needs of those campers will be.
Okay. And would you and the camp be prepared to enter into a discussion with the Land Conservation Council or the Forest and Park Association about what that reverter clause should look like?
Yes. We're all about preserving, the land. As we mentioned many, many times, we've been there for over 100 years, and we have been the protectors of Black Pond for over 100 years. That's a pristine lake. And I think it's because of camp being there for over 100 years. If you've ever been out there, there's no one else on the lake. There's no houses because of Camp Woodstock.
Okay, thank you very much. Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you and your testimony and your service to the kids and to our country.
Thank you.
Next up is Carrie Green, followed by Andy Bauer, followed by Sean Kimball. So whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Ranking Members Senator Sampson, Representative Mastro Francesco, and distinguished members of the GAE Committee for the opportunity to testify in support of House Bill 5522, an act conveying a parcel of state land in the town of Woodstock. My name is Kerry Green. I reside in West Hartford, a community from which Camp Woodstock attracts scores of kids. I have served as a volunteer for nearly 50 years and been associated with camp for 67 years. I currently chair the Facilities Committee. In my role as facility chair, I work closely with other board members and the executive director, Mr. Gronsky, in planning for the sustainability of the camp. The assignment is forward-looking, requires vision and understanding of the camp's mission, culture, values, and the latest trends and expectations of our camper families and user groups. Through various strategic planning activities, Camp Woodstock recognized many years ago how essential it is to both preserve and expand our property resources in order to sustain the quality programs our constituents need. In 1969, with great sacrifice, Camp Woodstock purchased 2 lakefront parcels for the specific purpose of protecting nearly a half-mile of Black Pond shoreline from residential development. It continues to be unspoiled and is used only on a minimal basis for rustic programming. We want balance between nature and kids, so the kids find peacefulness in their environment. More recently, we became more intentional about sustainability and engaged the services of the Yukon School of Landscape Architecture, as well as SLR International Consultants, to help identify solutions and develop a site plan to guide Camp Woodstock for the next 100 years. Our current site has limitations, restricting opportunities for the long term. It is occupied by program areas, camp facilities, large well zones, and septic systems. Furthermore, we are encumbered by substantial wetlands, narrow parcels, and zoning requirements for both road and lakefront setbacks. The recommendation was to augment land resources if at all possible, so we can continue to balance man and nature. The most desirable land directly adjacent to our main program infrastructure is the identified state forest of 19 acres. There is no other adjacent parcel that can help Camp Woodstock in resolving its usable land resource problems. This forested parcel is ideal for camp activities and outdoor education. It's hard to imagine that there could be any greater or more beneficial use of this state property than to have kids enjoy its wonders. On behalf of Camp Woodstock and all the people it serves, I ask the committee's consideration and support of House Bill 5522 in order to continue our ability to serve the kids of Connecticut. Thank you, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being
Thank
here
you.
and contributing your testimony. Next up is Andy Bauer, followed by Sean Kimball.
Good afternoon, Chairs Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Ranking Members Senator Sampson, and Representative Mastro Francesco, members of the GAA, and a special hello to Representative Carpino of the 32nd District. My name is Andy Bauer. I worked at YMCA Camp Woodstock from 1980 to 87. Thank you for the chance to speak in support of Camp Woodstock's land conveyance application. I've submitted written comments, but I'm going to put a little bit of a spin on some of those. Granting this proposal will help Camp Woodstock's mission, as you heard Tony Gronsky and several others comment on. I have every confidence that approving this conveyance will see the land well cared for. Tony spoke of that mission of PhDs, of unplugging from our devices, of the great outdoors, of developing mind, body, and spirit. I see it in action. Twice each summer, I visit the Leader in Training program, Sophie and Phoebe back there, which is for rising high school sophomores. They remember counselors who inspire them and are highly motivated to become Woodstock staff and pay it forward. They are armed with kindness and ready to use it. It is always a boost to see them in action. I mention this because, if I may, the way your committee meetings run exemplifies one of camp's core values, respect. I've watched hundreds of hours of hearings, heard arguments often in direct opposition. What always impresses me is the civility on display. The good chair, my friend, the ranking member, thank you for coming to testify. It's well done and very Camp Woodstock. That respect has another critical manifestation that I'd like you to consider. It mandates that we be good stewards of our physical camp. Because taking care of kids is our business, the environment in which we eat, sleep, swim, sing, and play has to be safe. There is no exceptions to that. Therefore, our care of camp is constant. Every day we clean up cabins and trails. When the day is done at our waterfront, all boats are docked, paddles racked, PFDs hung. Every breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we set up the dining hall, and after meals, clear the tables and sweep the floors. Stewardship is not just a word for us, it's woven into how Camp Woodstock operates. May I suggest, if you were to drive by camp, down Camp Road, without knowing that it was Camp Road, I do not think you would know that there was a camp there unless you were actively looking for it. It looks like forest. Please approve this conveyance along with camp cheers and capture the flag. We will care for the land and use it wisely. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being here and sharing your testimony.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Sean Kimball, followed by Kathy, excuse me. Zapeel. Hope I got close there. Mr. Kimball, whenever you're ready, you may begin.
All right, thank you very much. Can you hear me all right?
Loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. So thank you to Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Senator Sampson, and Representative Mastrofrancesco, and all committee members. I apologize I could not be there in person this year due to schedule conflicts today, but I greatly appreciate this opportunity to testify before you. The committee will recognize the subject of this bill as I testified at a hearing last year in support of the same request. We appreciate the committee did approve this conveyance request last year. However, it was caught up in the flurry of activity at the 11th hour of last year's session and did not make it across the finish line. So I am again speaking before you in support of our request for the state of Connecticut to convey approximately 2.5 acres portion of land located at 1996 Highland Avenue to the town of Cheshire. This parcel is adjacent to approximately 58 acres previously conveyed by the state in 2021, following approval by the General Assembly in 2009, Special Act 1904, for the purpose of marketing the property for economic development. All proceeds from the sale of that property will be remitted to the state treasurer for deposit in the Special Transportation Fund per the terms of the original conveyance. The sale price of the 58 acres is to be established by the average of 2 appraisals selected by the commissioner, and those appraisals were completed last year, and the resulting sale price has been determined to be $2,085,000. The town has determined that the options for development of this 58 acre parcel would be greatly enhanced by the availability of the requested property. The conveyance of this parcel would not impact the current use of the property and the existing building, which is currently used as the offices of the State Inspector General. We have confirmed with both the Inspector General and the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection that this undeveloped area on the remainder of their property is not in use and has no future need. And both have stated their support for this conveyance last year. The town has 5 years to market the property for economic development and has formed a steering committee to develop a request for proposals for private development. As stated above, once sold for this purpose, the state stands to receive over $2 million into the Special Transportation Fund. Furthermore, this conveyance would help generate significant job creation and economic growth for our town and the region and the state as a whole. So in closing, I'd like to thank the committee for their consideration and for your previous support of this conveyance request, as well as our Cheshire delegation, Representatives Linehan, Zupkis, and Fazzino, as well as Senator Sampson and Hockadell, for moving our proposal forward and for your recognition and consideration of this conveyance request. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the committee, Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for your testimony today. I remember this from last year. I believe it passed the House. It didn't get through the Senate. Is there anything different in this conveyance this year as to what we passed in the House last year?
Yeah, nothing at all. So exactly the same proposal. We're just we're excited to get going on it.
Yes. And you do not need another appraisal. Is that correct? You're using the one that was from last year?
Right. We still have the average of the 2 appraisals for the original 58 acres. So the request would be for this 2.5 to just sort of be conveyed as part of the overall package.
Okay, thank you. And then this property is the one that's where you're going to the entrance on the highway to get onto 691. Is that correct? Is that the property?
Right. It's in that area. The actual 2.5 acres is at the back of the parcel. In the front is a former house that's now the office of the State Inspector General. It's a long property into the 58 acres, basically, that was previously conveyed a number of years ago. So yes, it's just a rear portion of that property, but it does allow for better development options for the overall 58 acres. The original conveyance is the piece that has a section of frontage on Route 10. So this doesn't front Route 10, but it allows for better development scenarios, and we think more interest so that the town can get the highest and best use of the property. And then ultimately all of the funds will be transferred to the state.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Any idea when that property will be completed?
I don't know. There's a lot of activity across the street with a big Whole Foods development things going on the other side, which is very exciting for the town. But we're hoping to have the steering, once we know this property has been officially conveyed to the town, the steering committee will reconstitute and develop the RFP. So we hope to do that this summer and hopefully get the RFP out later this summer or early fall.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your testimony, for coming in. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Are there further questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much for being with us today, sir.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Next up is Kathy Sipiel. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Please correct me. And then followed by Alan Ruiz, followed by Lori Stocker.
Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Senator Sampson, Representative Mastro Francesco, and members of the GAE committee. I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Kathy Sipiel. You're not the first one to mispronounce it, and I'm actually not pronouncing it the proper Polish way either. So I serve as land protection manager for Save the Sound, a nonprofit whose mission is to protect and improve the land, air, and water of the entire Long Island Sound region. Save the Sound opposes 3 land conveyance bills that in a variety of ways threaten the public's interest in state-owned lands. I have a couple of things to say that have been said earlier, but also a few things to add to that. So first of all, regarding House Bill 5520, parcel of state land in the town of Berlin, we believe this sets a dangerous precedent regarding private encroachment on public lands. This bill involves 2.7 acres of mostly forested state land on which a developer constructed access drives and accessory structures. If passed, this bill will send a clear and unfortunate message. If you help yourself to state land, the state will back off and hand it to you. Regarding House Bill 5522, which addresses parcel of state land in the town of Woodstock, I want to acknowledge the value of a camp experience for countless children and young people. My own children benefited greatly from camp experiences similar to those offered by YMCA Camp Woodstock, and I've really appreciated hearing testimony today about that. However, this bill's seemingly harmless proposal for vague seasonal recreation and camp-related activities on 19.3 acres of state forest opens the door to the possibility of intensive camp development and major construction on the parcel in question. And what I'd like to add that hasn't been said already is that contrary to the assertion of earlier testimony that these are somehow idle acres, forested wetlands, this forested wetlands is doing the crucial environmental work that trees and wetlands do. It is not idle. This parcel is also part of the natural diversity database, indicating the known presence of species that are endangered, threatened, or of special concern. This state forest land should remain protected in the hands of the people of Connecticut. And finally, Senate Bill 460 regarding a parcel of state land in the town of Enfield poses some concerns for us. In light of the resources identified in the application, including the fact that this parcel is predominantly wetlands and is part, again, of the natural diversity database, its acquisition for open space is laudable, but this parcel is not an appropriate choice for active, heavy use, such as the 4 soccer fields proposed. And what I want to add, again, that has not already been said, is that protecting existing wetlands is key to maintaining ecological integrity. Wetlands play a crucial role in flood prevention, erosion control, as habitats for wildlife, just to name a few of their functions, and filling them in and replacing them elsewhere may be unsuccessful, leaving a community with degraded natural systems. We strongly recommend that if this parcel is to be conveyed, legislation specifies it to be suitable for passive recreation only, such as walking, wildlife viewing, and similar low-impact activities. And I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being here and contributing your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up is Alan Ruiz, followed by Lori Stocker, followed by Jim Jenks. Mr. Ruiz, I see you on the Zoom. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yes, hello, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, co-chairs Flexner and Blumenthal, ranking members Sampson and Master Francesco, and all the other members of the committee. I want to thank you for your consideration of Senate Bill 457, which I'm here testifying in support of. You'll recall that this is a redo of Senate Bill 1250 from last year's legislative session, which was passed out of committee, but stalled in the remainder of the session. The text of this legislation is exactly the same as last year's proposed legislation. This is an act concerning the conveyance of approximately 10 acres in the city of Middletown to the Shiloh Baptist Community Development Corporation, whom I've been assisting with various title matters. Because this legislation was considered again in last session, I'll try to keep the remainder of my comments brief. I just want to give a little bit of the background. This land was previously conveyed now over 20 years ago by the state to affiliate nonprofit entities of the Shiloh Baptist Community Development Corporation, all related to the Shiloh Baptist Community Church there in Middletown. The original deed from about 20 years ago had some ambiguous reverter language that has arguably been violated. Without necessarily conceding that fact, we think the simplest path forward to get the intended development built is to have the land reconveyed. And that's the purpose of both last year's legislation and Senate Bill 457. Now both the state and Shiloh will have the benefit of a clear deadline for the completion of the development, which Shiloh is very excited to begin moving forward with. You heard from Bishop Cotton earlier today during this hearing about what's intended there. They have a lot of great low-income housing and ancillary facilities planned. He mentioned the solar panels, which will further reduce the cost of the housing there. They've got rooftop gardens and other recreational facilities built or contemplated to be built as part of this development. So they're very excited to hit the ground running once these title issues are cleared up via this proposed legislation. I'm available to answer any questions the committee members might have, in particular Representative Master Francesco, I know you had a few for Bishop Cotton that I'd be happy to address as well.
Thank you for your testimony, Representative Master Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony today. Appreciate you coming in, or coming by Zoom at least. Yeah, I did have a question before. I was wondering, you said the property was originally conveyed 20 years ago. Was there a market value or something that they had to pay for that value back then, for the property back then?
To my knowledge, there wasn't. We just have the original title documents, just recorded documents. We weren't involved with that conveyance. There is reference to payment of the administrative cost of the conveyance, but I do not believe that is what you're referring to. And so I think the answer to that question is no, no fair market value was paid for the conveyance, but I am not 100% sure.
Okay, thank you. And then the goal here is to put up affordable housing, correct?
That's right. And that was the goal. That's always been the goal. There was, I think you alluded to, a lot of the local opposition that was submitted, largely written to last year's legislation. There was some confusion due to a third-party developer's desire, among other sites, to build some school in the Middletown vicinity. This had been something that third party, this site had been something that third party had been looking at. That's where the local opposition came from. But Shiloh has never intended to build a school and has always been planning on building low-income housing and ancillary facilities.
Okay, thank you. And is the church willing to pay a fair market value for the property if that was put in here?
I do not believe that that has been discussed with the Shiloh team or contemplated thus far. I would have to get back to you. At the moment, I don't think that they've been expecting to have to do that. So I can't say for sure one way or another what the answer to that question is.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me and answering my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Are there further questions from the committee? Seeing none, Mr. Reeves, we appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you.
Next up is Lori Stalker, followed by Jim Jinks, followed by Harold Sparrow. Stalker, whenever you're ready, we begin.
Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Senator Sampson, Representative Master Francesco, and members of the GAE committee. Thank you for this opportunity for me to testify today in support of House Bill 5522, an act conveying a parcel of land in the town of Woodstock to YMCA Camp Woodstock. My name is Lori Stalker. This is my 10-year-old daughter, Eleanor. We're residents of the town of Ellington. I'm a member of the Camp Woodstock Board of Advisors and chairperson for our annual fundraising campaign. I'm also an environmental professional working in East Hartford. This summer will be Ellie's 3rd year as an overnight camper. I also have a 19-year-old son who's a longtime camper and will be a counselor this summer. As a parent, it's my joy to witness how my children have grown by attending Camp Woodstock. When they return from camp, they're more confident, more independent, more creative, and more compassionate. Camp teaches them to treat themselves, their peers, staff, and the natural environment with caring, honesty, respect, and responsibilities, Camp's core values. Camp isn't just fun. Kids become better people because of camp. You've heard a lot from us today. We're a passionate group, but I want to highlight our annual campaign. The funds from our annual campaign are used to provide financial aid to campers who otherwise could not afford camp. Last year, we provided aid to 123 campers. These are kids from across the state and across the region who wouldn't be able to come to camp without this important fundraising effort. And it is the passion of the Board of Advisors and passion of our past campers, our alumni, who make this possible for these kids. This year, we've raised over $100,000, which means we'll be able to provide even more camperships to those kids who couldn't otherwise attend camp. So I wanted to highlight that because there is a public value to what we do. I see the work of our annual campaign as a social justice issue, since all children should be able to enjoy the benefits that Camp Woodstock provides. As an environmental professional, it's important to me to be aligned with organizations that advocate for the environment and teach our youth the importance of environmental stewardship. I have seen firsthand how thoughtful the leadership and staff of Camp Woodstock are with respect to protecting the serene forests of Camp Woodstock and the pristine waters of Black Pond, and how dedicated they are to teaching our youth about environmental stewardship. The conveyance of these 19 acres of land will provide more opportunities for campers, and as stewards of the growth and development of thousands of our youth over the past 102 years, I'm confident that Camp Woodstock will use this land to further their efforts to teach the youth of Connecticut how to practice their values with each other and with the land and waters of Camp Woodstock. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate your time and your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up is Jim Jinks, followed by Harold Sparrow, followed by Michael Hoffman. Mr. Jinks, whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Blumenthal, Representative Master Francesco, Senator May Flexer, and other members of the committee. Really here today to support the town of Cheshire's request for the 2.5 acre parcel. Our town manager just spoke a few moments ago about this conveyance request. I know the committee is relatively familiar with this from last year. Just wanted to reiterate a couple things with our testimony that we submitted. I say our because it's coming from the support of our entire town council, both Democrats and Republicans. One being that It's a relatively small piece of land, 2.5 acres, immediately adjacent to the 58 acres that was previously conveyed to Cheshire. It's an important piece of property. It sounds small, but it's kind of a very large impact on the marketability of the property and ultimately the usability of the property. So it's important for that reason. It's also the area across the street, as our town manager discussed, is in major demand and being developed right now. So this piece of property that we're asking for, along with the 58 acres that was already granted to us, is likely to be sold and used for the purpose of that kind of development here in Cheshire, which is very important for us now. As our town manager said, the Inspector General and the Department of Emergency Services have already signed off on this. It's not a usable piece of property for them. We don't really have a great deal of commercial property left in Cheshire, so this is really enabling us to maximize and take advantage of a piece that's very important to development in Cheshire, very important to our grand list going forward. So again, it's an important piece. It's small, but it's an important piece. Just want to say thank you to the entire Cheshire delegation, Liz Lenahan, Leslie Zupkis, Jack Vizino, Senator Sampson, and Senator Hockadell for supporting this, and hopefully the committee will move this forward. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being with us virtually and sharing your testimony.
Thanks.
Next up is Harold Sparrow, followed by Michael Hoffman, followed by John Furman.
My glasses are stuck, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. My name is Harold Sparrow. I'm the president and CEO of the YMCA of Greater Hartford. Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Senator Sampson, Representative Mastrofrancesco, and members of the GAE committee, thank you for the opportunity to submit my testimony. I am submitting testimony in support of HB 5522, an act conveying a parcel of state land in the town of Woodstock. This legislation directly impacts YMCA Camp Woodstock, one of the YMCA Greater Hartford's 2 residential camps in Connecticut, and they have been in existence for well over 100. They celebrated their 100th year anniversary this past year. Camp Woodstock has served as a pillar of the Y's mission and remains a vibrant learning center where youth can build relationships with their peers and mentors, engage in outdoor learning activities, and develop leadership skills that promote caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. Through this land conveyance, Camp Woodstock stands to increase its impact by providing more robust outdoor learning opportunities to the youth it serves. This is critical so that Camp Woodstock can effectively meet the campus needs in alignment with the American Camping Association's recommendation of 1 acre of campgrounds per child. Currently, Camp Woodstock serves an average of 300 campers per session on 93 acres and or 3.2 campers per acre. I strongly urge the GAE committee to advance this bill to benefit the 1,000 plus Connecticut youth that Camp Woodstock engages each year. I'm open for questions.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Sparrow. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being here today and contributing your testimony along with all the other folks from the camp. Next up is Michael Hoffman, followed by John Furman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Chairman Blumenthal, thank you. Chairman Blumenthal, Ranking Member Mastrofrancesco, my local representatives, Amy Berger-Giavallo, Keith Denning, and Cece Marr, and all the respected members of this committee. My name is Mike Hoffman, and I'm a resident of the town of Reading and the president of Hoffman Landscapes based out of Wilton. And I'm here to support House Bill 5517, an act repealing the prior conveyance and reconveying a parcel of state land in the town of Wilton. Thank you for bringing this bill before your committee and for allowing me to testify. If this legislation sounds at all familiar to you, perhaps you remember it from 3 years ago when the conveyance was unanimously approved by the House and Senate, signed by the governor, and became Special Act 2129. I was grateful for so much support, but unfortunately, small changes that were made to the original text written by the DOT made it impossible for me to secure financing and title insurance, and so we were unable to complete the conveyance. So I'm here today to ask for your help once more that we might repeal the original and approve this new version. For those of you that are not familiar, 647 Danbury Road in Wilton has been the home of Hoffman Landscapes for the past 26 years. When we moved to the property in 1997, we had 15 employees, and today we have almost 250. As a part of our special permit with the town of Wilton and with the permission of the Department of Transportation, we have expanded and improved the property over the past 26 years, investing hundreds of thousands of dollars along the way. We replaced the roof and the septic system, paved the parking lots, developed previously unused land, installed drainage, lighting, and security systems, and did a really nice job with the landscaping. The Department of Transportation has been a very gracious landlord for the last 26 years, and they've been very helpful to me with the conveyance process since we started working on it 4 or 5 years ago. Wilton's first selectman, Tony Boucher, has submitted written testimony to this committee in support. Our state representatives, Amy Berger-Javallo, Keith Denning, and our state senator, C.T. Marr, visited the property last summer, and I'm grateful for their support. By voting in favor of this House Bill 5517, this committee and your colleagues in the House and Senate can help secure a home for the 250 employees of Hoffman Landscapes for decades to come. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate, Representative Berger-Javallo.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. My hand raising was delayed there. I just wanted to highlight that with that tour, I was able to see, well, first of all, hello, Mike, how are you?
Hey, doing great.
With that tour, I was able to see the significant improvement to the land and the mindfulness for the space itself, the conservation aspects of all of the improvements that they've made. And it's such a huge part of the community down that way. And the number of people who he employs was a significant factor in the entire group of us being able to support. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation. And Mike, thank you so much for waiting until the end of this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate you being with us today and sharing your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Last, certainly not least, is John Furman. I see you on the Zoom. Whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Good afternoon, Representative Blumenthal, Representative Mastro Francesco, members of the GAE committee. Thank you for allowing me time to speak in favor of Bill 458. I am a Connecticut professional engineer working for an engineering firm, VHB, with offices in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and along the East Coast. We are here in support of Bill 458, which requests approximately 3,578 square feet of land along the Interstate 91 corridor to be used for transportation purposes in support of the redevelopment of a parcel of land located at 29 Windsor Avenue. Mr. Dinesh Patel, who is sitting beside me, is a developer. He has 14 acres of land at 29 Windsor Avenue, and he is proposing to redevelop that as a mixed-use development. This project will be developed in phases, and it has already received approval from the town for phase 1, with phase 2 currently under review. The land requested will be utilized for transportation purposes, and it will be used to relocate the end of Violet Avenue, which is a municipally owned roadway. This alignment is needed so that the end of Violet Avenue and the proposed driveway can be aligned together to form a new 4-legged intersection, which would support the installation of a new traffic signal. And having them aligned in a four-way configuration, optimizes the efficiency of the traffic operations. VHB met with representatives of the Connecticut DOT in April of 2023 to present preliminary plans for this transportation improvement project. At that time, we did not have any formal submittal made, but since then, a submittal was made to ConnDOT at the beginning of this year and is currently making its way through the review process. We are continuing to work with ConnDOT to address questions and issues as they arrive, and we are continuing to pursue this on the local level as well for the relocation of Violet. What I'd like to do now is turn my computer over to Mr. Patel so he can say a few words about himself.
Thank you, Representative Bromelton, Representative Mastro Francisco, and member of the GA committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak on the Senate Bill 458. My name is Dinesh Patel. I'm an immigrant from India in 1993 to come to the United States. Also, as a trade, I'm a pharmacist, become the prolific business owners and real estate developer and entrepreneur of the Western Massachusetts. I developed 16 plus hotel, 12 plus restaurant, 3 plus pharmacy, gas pump, retail office, and finance in the banking industry. Now I'm looking to develop 14-acre land in a 29 Windsor Avenue, Windsor, Connecticut, mixed-use development. I'm creating almost $95,000 real estate tax to be goes almost $480,000 real estate tax. We're creating 80 to 120 full-time job at this location. And it will be the mixed-use development. So we are seeking to favor this bill, Senate Bill 458. And thank you for listening to me. And we're looking for support. Thank you.
Thank you all for allowing us time to present, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, we appreciate you being here and sharing your testimony. That concludes the public list for testimony today. We appreciate everyone being here, and we will be back for a committee meeting tomorrow.